Hello, everyone. Welcome back to PODCAD, the podcast for creative artists and designers. Today, we are joined by a very lovely guest. She is a multimedia Black artist in fourth year of life studies at OCAD University. Please welcome Pixel Heller to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's been a day for sure. Like I was actually like documenting or finishing up kind of like my thesis for like photos.
Nice.
So it's been like the one thing that's causing me the most amount of stress. So I'm happy to get that finally out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
I think we can all attest to that.
Yeah.
It's like this final month is just kind of like even for you, I know that your final crit is like before mine, so I'm sure you're feeling even more pressure to just like finish work, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Are you also doing the cross thesis?
Yeah, I'm in cross thesis because I'm in the life studies program, and so there's like 9 of us. So they just like kind of grouped us in with cross thesis, which in the end, like I'm totally grateful for that because you know you get to kind of explore like any direction, and with my practice, like going in all kinds of places, like it definitely was beneficial for sure.
Are you? You don't have to tell me if it's a spoiler, but are you doing any performances for
performances? We'll see.
We'll see. Okay.
Maybe.
See. Yeah. Because life studies, I think you might be the first life studies guest here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it is a really small program, so that makes sense.
Definitely the first one since we've moved to TIFF. I think we had one like 2 years ago.
Doesn't
GradX, but like it was so long ago that it's.
Yeah.
First true life studies.
Yeah, I know they're doing like they're like revamping the program and like adding it in a few more things, which I think is going to make it like a really good program. I definitely recommend it.
It's a specialization now, right? Like under integrated media.
Yeah.
I think it definitely will give you guys like more access to equipment. For one.
Yeah, we need that for sure.
Because your work is very lively and. Based on performance alive, life studies, like most of the stuff at GradX was like dead things, you know?
Yeah, it's a lot of, well, here's the thing, like I graduated high school and then I was like, because the high school that I graduated from, it was like very like STEM, like, you know, everyone wants to go into medicine. And so I kind of like definitely felt a type of way about that. But I've always been artsy and my parents have always tried to like push me into that direction. So I was like, I'm going to go and become like a medical illustrator. And that was, that's why I'm in the life studies program was because I wanted to be a medical illustrator. And then it wasn't until like 2 years in that I was like, yeah, this is not what I'm passionate about whatsoever. And then I made like a full like 180 and I'm like, now I'm just going to be an artist.
Yeah, see, deep down, you know, like I remember those times in grade 12 where you looked at the OCAD brochure and there was that one program that you really wanted, but then just like, you know, it's like when you go to McDonald's and, you know, your parents are just like, don't take your eyes off the value menu, you know? So just like you pick the one that'll get you the most jobs, you know, or it seems like you have more job security. That was me with illustration.
So I see.
That's like as much painting without the whole barista part, you know?
I feel like that's a lot of people in illustration would say the same kind of thing. They're like, I wanna be able to get a job. I'm like, okay, what do you mean by that? But, you know.
There's a lot of people in illustration who are deeply fine artists or painters, you know?
For sure, yeah.
I think like, for me, like I went into graphic design I think I did 4 years in high school of design, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do design because I know that there's job security. But then after I got to OCAD, I was like, damn, but I can get a job doing something I actually like. So maybe I'm not going to do design because it gets boring, you know, it gets boring. I think you have to be passionate about what you're doing. So I think it's really great too that you've, you know, got to the school and reassessed and said, you know what, I don't want to do medical drawings because it's going to make you money, but it's like, are you really going to have fun if you're doing something that is, you know, no longer like not a hobby, but like, you know, something you enjoy to do, but it's just solely because you know that you're going to get money, right?
Yeah, and it really wasn't until I like, you know, was taking classes in person at OCAD that I realized, you know, like maybe I could like actually pursue like just being an artist and not having to like, you know, do some kind of like side thing that, you know, I might not fully be passionate about anymore.
Yeah. And so how did that transition happen?
How did it happen?
Yeah, like at what point did you realize like, there's like way more opportunities than I thought. And then you started to develop your style. How did that unfold?
I think it was like after I had come up with like the mask figures, I kind of was like, ooh, this is like a style that I can definitely like get into. And then it wasn't until I had the exhibition at Young and Dundas that I was like, okay, like let me just like take art seriously and not as like, you know, this like side thing that I, you know, I have the ability to do. Like, let me take it seriously and see, you know, where I can go. And like, ever since then, it's been like, I'd say pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you started your e-portfolio?
E-portfolio, I have actually.
You have?
Yeah, I have.
I was gonna say it's gonna take a lot of time to put all of your exhibitions and awards and accolades in there. Just taking a look.
For sure. No, that's been taking a lot of time. Yeah, I've been busy doing a lot of different, you know, things with performance, exhibitions, just trying to like, you know, get my name out there.
You're already 3 steps ahead of me. Like I don't even have my format page set up. So
that's the start. Like once you get that, then it's like you make the CV. Once you get that, it's kind of like you just popping things into the e-portal thing.
Yes, I haven't done that. I'm just too lazy.
Too lazy.
To be honest, I'm too lazy. I've got no excuse. That's literally what it is.
So how did you develop your motif, your horned character?
The horned character?
Yeah.
I would say like over the pandemic, I picked up oil pastels and I really got into doing that. And I would do like little just like figures, like faces. And I always kind of like just dreamed of having like some kind of style.
Yeah.
And that was like where I came up with the first figure. I was always doing things with like horns and stuff like that. And then once I had done the first painting, I don't know if we might have a photo in the exhibitions, but yeah, here. So the large painting in the corner, that was actually the first mask figure painting that I had done. And then from there, I was like, okay, this is like a style that I can definitely like, you know, work with and expand on. And that's kind of what I've just been doing from there. Sorry?
I was gonna say, I even remember like looking at like the 2 like figures on the wall too. Like I remember going into the yellow stairwell like one week and it was just like full all the way down. And I was like, whoa, I need to find out who's doing this.
Yeah, I did those at like, it was like when OCAD was open 24/7. It was like 3 in the morning and I was like, let me just go like do some things in the yellow staircase. And then like the first floor was just like covered with like, there was like 5 of them.
It was always a lovely surprise though, seeing like a new one come and I was like, nice.
I appreciate that. They're like the protectors of the staircase.
Especially too, because like the paint you use is so like, you know, dark and like blocking that it blocks all the other stuff behind it that it just looks like
they like stand out
cool,
even
you know?
more. Yeah,
it's awesome.
Thank you. So yeah, that's kind of where I started doing the mask figure stuff, and then it really evolved into getting into like masquerade, which is where the Mokojumbi figure, where I got into that.
Yeah.
You want to hear the story of how I got into that?
Of course.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I was like just doing research on like, okay, so my whole practice, I try and like, you know, reconnect with my identity. That's been like a huge thing that I've been trying to do, especially like since moving to Toronto.
Yeah.
And like finding my community, you know, really finding my purpose and like my goals and what I want to do. And so, yeah, I was like online one night and I was just like looking at like carnival and what like the history of that was. And I came across the Mokojumbi, which is a tall figure that walks on stilts that is like the protector of the village, like a guardian, you know, and Jumbi is like a Caribbean word for a ghost. So it's like a spirit. And I found photos online and I like instantly was called to it. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like how do I get into this? Like this is so something I want to do. And then I found out that one of the professors at OCAD, that's his thing. Like he makes stilts, amazing. He does like workshops, so cool. Things like that. And I was like, what are the odds that like, you know, there's like a professor at OCAD that like, that is his whole thing. His name's Michael Lipoy and he's in the design faculty. And so over the summer, I'd like practice every day with his daughter, Jika. And we'd practice. We'd walk around like Queen Street. We'd go around on the stilts. You know, people would want to take photos. And it was summer, so it was like, you know, really, really nice. And then my first performance was at Caravana. And that was my first time like ever even attending. So I really had like not as many like, you know, expectations or like I didn't really know what I was getting myself into.
Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's really big. I mean,
absolutely.
I live in the area that Caravana happens and every year it is like so fun because it's just like full of people, and just like the music is just insane too. Like it's just a great experience. I'm really like, it's great that you got to go and, you know, do the Moko Jumbi there too, because it's like part of like bringing it back to that, you know, culture and like culture in the city.
Yeah, and I think like the one thing that I really appreciate that the like Michael the professor was doing is that he's bringing back like traditional masquerade, because like I feel like right now it's because it's commercialized, it's also like becoming very like overtly sexualized as well, and I feel like we're kind of like losing a little bit of like the meaning of like, you know, resistance and power and what it really came down to, like why we did it in the beginning. So I think like it's very important to bring it back to like traditional masquerade. Not dissing, like, you know, I'm not dissing anyone. Like you do you. Like I you know, I'm all for it at the end of the day. Like I enjoy it, but you know, traditional masquerade.
Like an acknowledgement of the roots of it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Have you ever done any like teaching?
Teaching?
Like
No, not really, not yet. But I definitely would be down to do that for sure.
Yeah.
Like teaching people how to walk on stilts. It's fun to do. It's fun to see, like, watch people do it for the first time, because they're always like, oh my gosh, and then like a few minutes later, or like the next day, you know, like they're chilling. Like it's great. Yeah.
I remember, I think it was in like the Great Hall, but I saw you like practicing on the stilts and stuff, and I was like, damn, that's like crazy, because like if you fall in there, like that hurts, you know.
Yeah, I've only fallen once, luckily. And like the stilts I started at were 3 feet, which is like, you might want to start like 1 or 2, like that's usually reasonable, but I was like, I'm going big. So I started at 3 feet, and I've only fallen once, and it was the first time that I was practicing. After that, I haven't.
What are the tallest stilts that you've ever performed on or been on?
I'd say 5 feet. That's the tallest. So I'm basically like 10 foot something. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but they go up to like 10 feet. They start at 10 feet, you know, like so, like people in Trinidad, like I'll watch videos and like there's someone, his stage name is Daddy Jumbi. And he actually is on like 10 feet stilts and doing like crazy moves. Like you just like, you'd have to see it, because I can't even explain.
You're talking like 15 or 16 feet tall then, like with like the person on top.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And you picked this up over the pandemic?
No, over the summer, like summer.
Just over the summer?
Yeah. So like I just started it.
At what point from starting did you get to Caravana?
At what point?
Yeah, like how
I'd say I started in May, around May, and then Caravana was in August. Yeah, so I practiced like basically like every day. I even like when I went to Trinidad for the first time, I brought them. Like that was my suitcase. Like I literally was holding the stilts, and they were wrapped, like I had them wrapped up in saran wrap. And I was like at the airport, and you know, security is looking me up and down, like what is what is she holding? And I'm like, they're my stilts. Yeah.
It's so good.
I'm like sometimes like walking on these like platform docks, like kind of get me all wobbly. You know?
Yeah, you need balance for sure.
What is like your sort of like, what do you think the next sort of steps or your goal with like the stilts and like Moko Jumbi is? Like, where do you want to take it? Where do you want it to go?
Take it? Yeah, I really want to just do more performance work. Like the most recent performance I did was at the Waterloo Region Museum, and I'd say like that was definitely a good like starting point for like, you know, knowing, you know, what I need to do in order to perform, you know, my rates, things like that, figuring out the logistics now so that like, you know, when other places reach out to do performances, like I'll have a better grasp of that. But yeah, for sure, like just more performances and getting like getting my message kind of out there, you know?
It's super cool.
Yeah. Do you find yourself more interested in doing that or painting, or does it all come together as like one giant project?
I think it's like, it really does, like it's just one, like it's it really is just one. Like I can kind of like see like different ways that they all kind of connect, but I don't know, I see like the paintings and stuff more as like, you know, for exhibitions and things like that, and then the performances kind of, they can be anywhere. I think that's one thing that I like about that is just like, you know, it doesn't have to be like in the white gallery wall. Like I can just like go out like on the streets and do it whenever. Like I kind of like that aspect of it, and like bringing in the community as well. That's big.
Yeah, and your artwork has been like, it's gone beyond the white gallery wall. Like it's been on young and Dundas.
Yes.
It's almost like I look at it like it's like you've developed like your own language in a sense too, right? Like, although like the masks all have variation and difference, they all come from the same like, you know, inspiration or source of like, you know, knowledge and community and culture. And it's very fascinating. I don't know if you could touch on more like sort of the initial inspiration for the masks and stuff that you paint.
Yeah. So I was doing like a lot of research on like just like African masks, Caribbean masks, and then getting into masquerade. There's different like characters, and they all kind of like represent different things. And there is one figure called like the Blue Devil, and there's also like Jab Jab, and they all have horns. So already I was like, oh, okay. And it really wasn't until I got into like researching a lot of like, because I was actually doing an independent study.
Okay.
That's really where I started to like learn more about carnival and what that was all about. And then from there, I was like, okay, I know what direction I want to take them in.
Super, super cool. And I guess like, I know that you've done like the paintings of them and stuff, but you've done like actual like masks too, right?
Yeah.
How is that process different than say just like painting? Obviously you're still coming up with all the, you know, imagery and stuff, but like what is like the difference to you in between like putting it on a canvas versus like physically making like an object?
I'd say I like definitely struggled with like taking it off the, you know, like the 2D for sure, because I was trying, the first mask I made was like actually just out of cardboard, and I folded it. And I was like, okay, I like how this looked. And then I made like one out of paper mache that was like a lot more round and had a lot more like dynamic, like it was more dynamic with the horns and all that kind of stuff. And then I ended up like taking it back and then going back to having like it was like a plastic sheet kind of that I ended up like carving and then painting on top. So that's kind of like what the masks are looking like right now. But I'd say it was definitely something that was kind of like, I had to like workshop that a few times before I kind of got something that I was like happy with how it looked, because you know it's different when like the paintings, they're always like with oil pastel, like that's what I like, that's how I get like the texture and everything like that. So it doesn't translate the same when I try and do it, you know, on the 3D. So yeah.
Do people ever get scared of the masks and the performances?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Like, I've definitely seen kids, like, you know, they're running to their parents or something like that. But, you know, it's all fun.
Yeah. Is that something you enjoy, scaring
Oh,
the kids?
do I enjoy okay, I don't do it I'm not trying. Like, you know, like, I understand, like, you know, if I was young and I saw something like that, oh, I definitely would be running the other way, for sure. But, you know, I think it's funny.
Yeah.
I appreciate it,
Yeah. I assume, you know, you try to make it like a positive experience, right?
Yeah, I'm not trying to scare anyone. Okay. No, for sure not. Yeah.
Yeah, because the horns are very like visceral motif, you know.
For sure.
But
I guess that's something that I kind of like was struggling with at the beginning, because I was like, you know, like with the whole thing with like Christianity, devils, things like that. I was kind of like, ooh, but then I like, you know, that's the culture, so I'll follow it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess that leads into another question I had about like, what is the response from like people usually when they see you, you know, doing your performances or like after your performances and like, you know, your work with like the Moko Jambi and stuff? Like, what do people usually like say, or how do they feel?
I think they're more like just amazed by the fact that, you know, a human can just like get up on, you know, stilts and just like perform in that kind of way. I think they're more amazed by that. And also like, you know, I think with the bright colors can also kind of like switch the narrative a little bit. So that's why I do like to, like I always wear black. That's definitely something that I'm like all about. We should do a fit check. I actually didn't even like, we didn't even start. We just went right into it.
Do a fit check for you. Yeah, do it.
Oh my gosh. So I'm wearing these pants that I actually made.
Oh, nice.
They got like
that's so
a
cool.
movement. And
those Crocs?
Yeah, pumped up Crocs, absolutely.
Ooh.
And then
Always
Modern Architect is the shirt. And then my friend made this. Her name's Sydney, and she's in the material art and design program.
Is that glass or?
It's like plastic, but then there's like a glass, I guess, on the back maybe. I'm not sure, like a reflective thing.
It's like an acrylic with like a reflective. I don't know what you.
I think this might be one of the hardest fits we've had on the.
Truly.
Okay. Yes.
It is. Honestly.
Sorry, Darren.
It's interesting though. Like all of our guests who wear like full black always have like the best fits. Like when it's like monochrome, like it's just. I mean, I'm literally wearing black and white. So.
Yeah. I actually like only wear black. It's like very rare that you'll see me in color. Yeah.
We kind of got a similar like color palette going. Lakin has to stand out.
Yeah, there you go. I like it.
That's my fault. This is just like the studio pants with the presentable shirt.
Yeah.
Studio shirt underneath. Sometimes you just like if you go to OCAD, you get it. You get it.
For sure.
I'm curious, like since you're in life studies, like how much of your personal art can you get to explore in life studies, or is your life studies practice completely different from what you're doing?
I would say like, yeah, definitely at the beginning for sure. Like I was doing like, stuff with like bioplastic, what other things, like natural materials. Like there was like one class we made like terrariums.
Oh.
Like, it's fun. No, like I'm not, it was absolutely like a great time, but like it never really like fit in. And that was definitely like last year. But, with thesis and all of the classes, I'm trying to like plan things so that they all kind of actually coincide with what I'm interested in. And like last semester I took a natural dye or just like a dye class. And that's where I made these pants originally. And like, I'm trying to get everything to kind of coincide so that I don't have to like, oh, this is for an assignment and, this is for my practice. So,
I have a pitch to incorporate some life studies. Real horns. Real horns.
Yeah, for sure.
Or including life natural materials into the masks, the outfits.
Yeah, I'll give you a shout out when I do that for sure.
Yeah. It's medal winning advice.
Oh yeah.
It's always so strange, like with like the life studies stuff, because I feel like out of like, no, I'm not gonna say all, but a lot of the life studies people, you definitely have a very like unique, body of work, right? Like it doesn't look like anything that anyone else in that program is doing, and I think it definitely comes down to you being like multidisciplinary, like you said, right? Like you have work that works in like performance, and then you have like the paintings, and then you have like the photo work that you're working on and the video work, and it's really great to see how like all of your like work cohesively kind of creates this larger body, right? It all borrows from the same original source material.
Yeah, I think that was always like the goal. I really did want to kind of have like, the sense of style, but then like being able to branch off into different like mediums is always, and I can't stay put into one material. Like that's why I'm grateful that I'm in the life studies program, because I think if I had gone back, I might have done like drawing and painting, and like I feel like that would have just put you like right into like one specific box where you won't be able to like explore. And I think like even like the professors have always been so encouraging of being like, try this or try that and see what works. You know?
Sure. It's funny because like every single multidisciplinary artist I've like spoken to and stuff either was considering drawing and painting or started in drawing and painting and did it for a year and was like, and left.
And they're the better painters.
Like literally, yeah. Like it truly comes down to like, I think when you look beyond just being like, okay, I'm a painter and I paint on a canvas, the horizon is just so much larger, right? Because you can take those drawing and painting skills and transfer them into, physical object, right? Much like you've done with like the masks and like all this other stuff that like now is like literally its own language or its own matrix of work, right? It's like a cohesive like. It's almost like you've built like a universe in a sense.
For sure. Is the drawing and painting program like very much like, based on your like skills, like, technical abilities? Yeah, I feel like that's something that I never really like. I'm good with like, figuring out like the framework of how you want, like, how do you say it? Like
how to develop an image?
Yeah, like that. But like I don't know, like the skills of like blending colors and things like that. I feel like I'm never like I can do it, but I don't like doing it. I
don't think they teach that shit.
No? Okay.
No, because it's just like, look, I talked to some drawing and painting people, and they like go out for a smoke, they ask me like, oh, so what's your assignment? Just like, oh, I have to make an editorial spread illustration using 5 colors, this dimension, how about you? Just like, oh, our assignment is paint what you want. oh yeah, what's your next assignment? Paint how you feel.
A self-portrait, but without the face.
Because I was talking to some drawing and painters, or drawers and painters, whatever.
Yeah.
And I left my observational illustration class, which is a life painting class. We paint the model, and they're very much sticklers for realistic rendering, and everything has to be like super. It's observational, right? You have to paint what you see. But I was talking to like some drawing and painting students, and just like, you have classes like that? It's like, yeah, and just like, are they as hard on you with this? It's just like, no, man, you can just paint whatever the hell you want. It doesn't have to look like the model. It could be some abstract thing. And
I took one of those classes, and I remember the first class. It was, I was like, oh no, this is going to be a long semester. I was very scared. But, I pushed through. And like for my last like project, I was like, I'm putting horns on this kid, on this live model. I'm going to put horns on him because, that's my thing. Yeah. And the professor loved it. So I was like, okay, we're good.
If I put horns on the model, I'm failing.
You're done,
I'm packing up.
I took a life drawing class in first year, but it was like life drawing for design or something. The class doesn't even exist anymore. Like after my year, the class doesn't exist. They put it as an elective on my transcript, and I was like
for designers?
Yeah, so it was a required course, and like it was like drawing from life for design. So it was like learning how to take real stuff and then, I guess, use it for design. I don't know.
Was everybody just like bad? They had to cancel the class?
I mean, there was people in there that were good. I was not. I was really bad. Yeah. The most like insulting thing that happened was the model coming after and being like, "Oh, I want to see what everyone drew."
Oh,
and
no.
She came over to mine and looked at what I drew, and she was like, "That doesn't look like me." And I was like,
it's just like you're the model. Like it's not your business. Just post. Man, don't worry, because we have a class, I think in second year, called graphic design for illustrators. The worst fucking designs I've ever seen in my life. It's terrible. Like no design principles used at all.
But that's what I find is so strange about OCAD too, right? And I don't know if you feel the same. I guess it's like sort of changing now that life studies is part of integrated media. But like when you're in a program, you're kind of like expected to stay like in that program, like within that faculty and like rely on that stuff. And like if they had just like a regular class for like everyone and all the different things, sure. Why do we need to have like a life drawing for this and a life drawing for that and a life drawing? Like it's so separate when it could be like, I don't know. Like
for sure.
You think they're just gonna homogenize all the programs to one thing?
Like bachelor degree of OCAD.
The OCAD degree.
Bachelor of Art and Design.
Art, drawing, designing,
crafting,
from life,
collaging.
Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. Let's get back onto the topic of your work, though.
Yeah.
We're interested in knowing, like, obviously you're working towards GradX right now, and that's like the big, like, final graduation show and everything.
Yeah. What are your secrets?
What am I working on?
Yeah, what are you working on right now towards for that?
So like last semester, I was doing a lot of like exploration with video. I was doing like collage work, photography, like not me being the subject and like doing that. And then I got into like, I was starting thinking about like archiving as a way of like, I don't know, just like documenting like my journey and stuff. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be doing for my final project. So I just took the photos today. That's nice. Why I'm wearing the, that's part of the fit. So I'm doing like, they're like fashion, masquerade photos. And I'll save it. I'll have an exhibition actually. It's at Gallery 1313 on March 14th.
Oh, nice.
So that's actually like the life studies like thesis show. And so that's when I'll show them.
So all the life studies thesis people are exhibiting there? Oh, nice.
Yeah. So you'll see.
Illustration, we don't have shit, man.
We don't have anything in graphic design either.
Really?
They don't even have studios. You know, that's why I took cross thesis.
Oh, okay. Let's not make it a sob story. After she just told us this amazing news. You've done a lot of exhibitions.
Have I?
I was looking through, unless you lied on your CV, but
Yeah, I've done a few. Yeah.
do you have a favorite?
A favorite? I really like the art of celebration. That was a really good one. It was I did it at the Ada Slate Gallery, and it was my first time curating a show. And so the goal was like, I was like, okay, I'm doing a lot of work in like the realms of like Black celebration and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, what are other artists, you know, that are Black, creative, what are they doing that has the same theme of celebration? Yeah, that's the one. And so the first one was at the Ada Slate Gallery, and there was some great artists. I got to like, you know, do like a jury kind of situation where I was just like picking the artists that I wanted to have in the exhibition, and then that was like around May, and it was up for 2 weeks, and then I was kind of like thinking of like, you know, what could I do after? Or, you know, I was trying to be intentional with like the moves that I was making. And so I was like, okay, let me like find like a Black owned business or like a restaurant, that I could like display the art, you know, again, taking it out of the white like cube is really what I was about, and bringing it into the community. And so, yeah, this is at Sugarcane Restaurant on Danforth. It is a Black owned restaurant. Very good food, let me just say. And so the night that I had it up, there was like live music, people came out. It was like a really good event.
Yeah. Do they rotate artworks there? Because like it's a really excellent space, the little windows with the lights.
Yeah, no, they have like, I think there's like a few that they do rotate out different things, but they don't do like exhibitions or anything like that. Like I had just called them and I was like, hey, like, do you guys have wall space? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, okay, I'll check out the space, see what we can do.
Let me see your CV. Whoa!
Yeah. So yeah, that was honestly like a really fun exhibition where I like, you know, was really being intentional with what I was trying to do. And that was the first time that I did like an oil, like my work is the one in the corner of with the horns, of course, but that was the Blue Devil that I had done. And that was like my hyper realistic kind of painting that I did, which looking back on it, I'm like, I don't know. It was very stressful to make that piece. So I'm not sure if that's like the direction I want to go in anymore, but you know, we're trying different things.
A little too much from life.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it was so like, I remember like I was in the studio like glazing, you know, because you know you have to wait like multiple weeks for like the oil paints to dry and things like that in between layers. So I was like doing the different steps, and like I was glazing, and like things were smudging and it wasn't looking good, and I just started crying. I was like, I don't know what to do, like this is crazy. And then ever since then I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be doing stuff that like stresses me out. I'm gonna like do stuff that you know I'm actually like excited about, or like, you know, want to continue pursuing. So yeah, maybe not necessarily that kind of stuff anymore, but I've been doing a lot of like working with like collaborating. I think that's been something that I've really enjoyed, with like just playing with materials and see what comes with it without really having like a big end goal in mind. Yeah. Would
you ever consider curating something like this again, like a show, like a group exhibition of work again in a sort of space like this?
Yeah, I think like looking back, like now I've definitely gained like a lot of skills in like art handling and stuff like that, and like just curating. Like I see how other people curate, and I kind of like get an idea of like, okay, like I see like, you know, the whole idea of how that kind of works. And so I definitely think like I'd want to do it again and better.
Art handling, like at a Patel Brown.
Oh my gosh.
Gallery.
Yeah. That was my first like art handling job that I got. Was at that gallery, and then now I work at Ignite and On-Site.
Oh, well. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Wow. Is it easy to get a gig at a gallery? Because they're always so like doors closed.
Yeah, definitely. I think like the way it happened was like very natural.
Yeah.
And it just kind of like really worked out. And I think like looking back on it, I'm like really happy that they like were willing to like train me and like take me in as someone that like only knew how to like use a power tool, and that's about, you know, that's about it, you know, that's like the bare minimum. And like now I know like so much more. Like, you know, I didn't like when I set up this exhibition, I didn't know about, you know, the 57-inch like as the center. Like I didn't know that was how you're supposed to hang paintings. Like I was just throwing things up, and so like that's definitely something that I would like, you know, do different for sure.
Yeah.
Would you ever like, do you want to sort of work in curation or like in gallery in the future too? Or is it sort of just like, you know, something you're doing now because it's open?
Yeah, I think it's like the experience that I feel like I need. Like that's definitely like, this is not something that like OCAD is like teaching, like, you know.
Yeah,
so I think like I'm going out there to like get the knowledge, know how to, you know, set up art, like watch how, you know, like mid-career established artists are like installing their work. So I'm like, okay, like if they're doing, you know, if this is how the professionals are doing it, like I want to be professional as well. So, you know, kind of like seeing what others are doing. And then, yeah, I'd say that, yeah.
I mean, you'll be a professional artist in like 2 months.
2 months.
Like, I mean, like, I feel like that's like the thing a lot of people forget is like right now we're like students because we haven't graduated yet. But as soon as you're like out of OCAD, you're like a practicing artist. You know, you're like at like the same playing field as everybody else.
Practicing barista in my case, you
know.
Oh.
Yeah, that's one thing I was like, it's okay if I'm broke, but at least I'm like doing something I'm interested in, you know? Like, I think that's what matters. Cause like my first job was like at Booster Juice, like when I was living in Winnipeg, that was my first job. And like, I worked there for 2 years. And by the end I was so burnt out. Like I was like, this is not for me for sure. Like I was 16 at the time. Like I was like, So like now I'm like only picking up jobs that I'm like really into. So that's like, you know, being an artist assistant or doing art handling, anything like within the realms of art, even performing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Have you ever considered street art as a direction?
Street art?
Mural street art?
Absolutely. I think like this summer, that's definitely something I'm going to have to like look into, like how I can do more of those. Cause like, you know, the black figures, like those are like really easy to do and like really fun as well. And I think they look great on a wall, like large scale too.
Even like as like, if you want to just do like hundreds, like a stencil, just pull up.
Yeah.
The best thing with street art is that like, you know, certain artists have like a motif or character that's repeatable and then people recognize, you know, and it just becomes like part of the city's culture.
Yeah.
I think this has potential.
It truly is. Like the hardest part is coming up with that like distinguishable character, and as soon as you have it, it's just go time. You just got to get up, right?
Yeah.
And so like you're already in like a really great spot to just excel with it, like truly. Thank you. It does, like, you know, with the community thing, like Mark said, it literally like builds the city's culture. Like you become part of like the fabric of the urban built environment.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe let's take a moment to look at all the pictures. Maybe you can give us some commentary.
Yeah, so these are the pants that I made for my dye class that I took last semester with Julia Rose Sutherland, who was like an amazing professor, let me just say. But so basically how I designed the pants is that there's like a detachable element so that I can wear the pants with and without the stilts. So if you see, these are the pants, and so there's like Velcro so that I can like add the extension so I can wear them with the stilts. So with that, I was like kind of thinking about, you know, how can we turn these like costumes, you know, the ideas of masquerading into like kind of like the everyday kind of style. So like I just walked here, you know, and people are like, hey, I love your pants, you know, and that's kind of like, you know, that's what fashion's about, right?
There's definitely something so alluring about like wearable art, you know, because it like is like it becomes part of your aesthetic. It becomes part of you, basically. It's like an extension of itself.
It's very much tied to identity for sure, and like culture as well, thinking about like the colors and, you know, organizing them in a way that like each one is like, you know, making them pop out even more. And the phrase, that's definitely like inspired by another traditional masquerade character from Trinidad. I'd say like the stick fighter. And
the mask too, is that like, what is that made out of?
Yeah, that's the
cardboard one?
It's plastic.
Plastic.
So I kind of like the very flat 2D kind of effect as well, and just playing around with it's kind of like a little childish a little bit as well, which I kind of like as well. And like when I'm like walking and stuff, like they still kind of move, they're not like stiff, so it's like, I don't know, I think it's fun. And then I have like these locks that I made, and they're like super long, they almost like touch the ground. And you can kind of see them. It kind of looks like a scarf or something, but yeah, it's hair actually. Like synthetic hair.
So
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you.
How tall are the stilts?
These ones are 5 feet.
5 feet.
Yeah. And
Cannoli.
I made them myself. They actually feature like Nike Air Force One high tops, which I was like, this is iconic because like, you know, you can throw on like any kind of shoe and like make the stilt look, 10 times more amazing.
So
Yeah.
cool. So
Thank
like,
you.
I know I've seen like the stilts in the wood shop when they were being built and stuff. Are the shoes like attached to the stilt, or are you like having to balance on
Yeah,
them?
they're like drilled into the kind of like the flat part of the stilt so that they can like sit on. Sometimes there's all kinds of different ways that you can make the stilts, but I think like the most convenient way that you don't have to like, tie it, because some of the stilts like you actually have to just wear your regular shoes and then you tie it on like that. But I kind of like the other way around where you can just like slide them on and just go right away.
Because I don't know what's more scary, like not being attached to the stilt so that you fall and the stilts fall away from you, or being attached to the stilt and you fall and you're falling with the stilts. Like,
Yeah.
jeez.
I think like if anything, falling forward is better than falling back at the end of the
Forward?
day. Yeah.
Well, I guess 'cause you can catch yourself.
Yeah,
right?
or you could just kind of like kneel and like hopefully like the knee pads kind of like protect a little bit, but yeah.
I mean, like, I'd maybe try stilts on grass, but like cement.
I think everyone should do it at least once. Like it's an experience for sure. And also
Once.
like an empowering experience. Like as someone who like was always very like shy and quiet, I feel like I never really, performance is not like something I ever thought I'd get into. I'm very much like introverted, I like to say. And so like when I got up on the stilts for the first time, it was like I just felt so empowered. Like all eyes are on me, like I'm the center of the like kind of attention. And on the stilts I really enjoy it. On the ground not so much, but on the stilts it's definitely like a whole different experience that like I feel like proud on the stilts. I feel like you kind of like connecting with your ancestors. I also feel that as well. Like it's like a whole like embodiment experience. Like, and also I should probably mention my like when I'm on the stilts, it's Pixel Jumbie. That's my like my alter ego, I like to say.
So cool. You should totally do a stilt like workshop.
That would be so fun. That would be
It'd be
so
so
fun.
cool.
Teach you how to do
I'd be
stilts.
there.
Teach you how to do stilts.
Oh God! Just
Yeah.
make a waiver that says I'm not liable if you fall.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
The next one,
Just-
yeah.
Yeah, so so these are the stilts that I made, and you can kind of see the shoes a little bit, but this was like the first time that I was like being intentional with what I was wearing on the stilts. I was like, okay, like I'm always wearing shorts, or I'm wearing a t-shirt, and I'm getting up on the stilts, or I'm wearing like an actual like costume that's like very much inspired by like Trinidad Masquerade. And so I was like, okay, let me see if I can like put some fashion kind of into the Moko Jumbi figure. And so, yeah, this was the first time I wore a dress. I was also like kind of making reference to like the first kind of Moko Jumbis actually wore like dresses. And then, people were like looking up the dresses. So then they changed them to pants. So I was kind of like making a little bit of a reference to that. And also, I got my boyfriend Marcy to take this photo, which I think also really plays into like, I don't know, kind of like the meaning of the work, because anyone can take a photo of you, but it's like the person behind the camera, like, the person that's like very, like someone that's a supportive, going back again to like community and how important that is, really plays into the work. And I wanted to include this photo specifically because I love the background.
Yeah.
I'm like in the center of the city, like you see like the skyline, but it also kind of looks like stars a little bit, which I'm like.
I was gonna say it's like so imposing, like that street light, because you're so tall. It looks like it's like tiny,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also just so fascinated. Like, are you in motion while this was taken? Or are you like standing? Because like I can't imagine standing still.
Yeah, it's kind of like almost like near to impossible to like stand fully still, because you kind of have to like kind of alternate feet in order to like actually be able to stand upright. So like when I take the photos, when I'm trying to be still for the photos, I do like try and like, very slowly balance, or I can like stay for like a few seconds, but like I'll either start tipping forwards or backwards, so I kind of have to catch myself. But
That's another aspect that I didn't consider, that like you have to like kind of
constantly moving.
Constantly be moving. I feel like, after like 5 minutes, I need to sit down. It's like rare.
Yeah, no, like at the beginning, like when you're like kind of training,
Yeah.
like I could only last like 2 minutes on the stilts, and I was like, my legs are done, like my abs are done, like I can't do it no more. But now I'm like, I'd say like 4 hours is like,
wow.
that's
It's
pretty much as
great
long.
workout.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
It's probably full body too, right?
Yeah. Oh,
It's
for
like
sure.
balanced, right?
We could do like a workout class. There's all those like weird workout like niches are kind of catching on.
Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy. I still can't get over like how tall they are. You know, like it's just.
You need to see it in person, definitely.
GradX.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Spend all of GradX on the stilts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Talking to the curators and like the art collectors. Hey y'all.
So funny. Their ad, like you weren't in the meeting today and stuff, but they were talking about like ladder safety and like like don't stand on the top of a ladder if you're gonna use a ladder, this and that. You just pull up with the stilts.
Yeah,
Start putting
it's
stuff
actually
up.
funny. Like at Patel Brown, they were like, or even like at any of the galleries I've worked at, they're always like, making sure that like you're okay to get up on a ladder, and I'm like,
Yeah.
be for real, like be
Yeah.
for real. I'm like my stilts are
stilts are
taller than
taller,
this
yeah.
ladder.
Yeah.
I think that's funny. Yeah, so this was at Yonge and Dundas for Black History Month, which like it's already March, so like it already passed, which is crazy. But I did it last year and this year, and I feel like the best thing about it is just like being able to have art that's like accessible to anyone, because like anyone could be walking down the street and see it at that exact moment. So I definitely appreciate that, and I also got the opportunity from the CAED at OCAD.
So cool.
Yeah. So the first year that I did it, the theme was just like how can public art like elevate the community. Yeah. So that was the first one, and that's I was only doing paintings at the time, so that's what I was able to show. Also, the quality of these images are really good. So I appreciate that. But yeah, so those were the first paintings that these three specific ones are actually like back to back, like the first ones I had ever done. Like I did the blue one, and then I did the yellow, and I did my self-portrait. And so far, the yellow one is the only one that I've sold, because I'm like, the other ones I can't. Like the first one and the self-portrait, like these have to. Yeah. They'll definitely stay in my collection for sure.
I mean, for the right price.
No way. Like I even thought about it. Like I was talking to my boyfriend, and he was like, $1 million, and I was like, I don't know. Like it's the first one, Like I don't know. I'd have to like think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same with like some of my prints. Like I just like, you're like, oh,
it's invaluable.
I gotta keep this. Because like especially too, like you want to have the reference to like where you've come from to where you are now, right? And it's great to have that as like a physical like original, so you can actually like know like, yeah, I did that. I used to be here. Now I'm here.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think I could sell them. I really don't think so. They're very dear to my heart.
Go back to this one quick.
Yeah. So this was like one of the collages that I was telling you that I was getting into, and so I got Shemaya to take some photos for me, and this was actually part of my exploration for my thesis. And so like I really had like no intentions of actually showing them, because I was like, they're rough sketches in my head, And then Ezra had talked to me and was like, you should definitely like, view them as a little bit more than just like sketches. So I was like, okay. And then I ended up like submitting them as collage, and then there was 3 that are just kind of like solo shots of just the one figure. Like so there's like 2 of them where I'm on the stilts, and then 1 of them where I'm just like on the ground. And then kind of wearing different masks was also something that I'm trying to be a little bit more intentional about, not always having like the same mask in each one. Because I can make so many. I could make them forever.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Could even do just like a series of just masks, like have that as the whole exhibition.
For sure.
Really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, portraits of mass. So I did this in December, actually, and it was curated by Juana Thompson, who basically is trying to document like queer Caribbean people in the community. And through this series, they didn't really have anyone that was doing traditional masquerade. It was all like pretty mask, so sequins, bikinis, feathers, all that kind of stuff, but in like a queer setting, which is like very different for like the Caribbeans. And so this was me like just taking some portraits, and then I also have some photos where I'm like actually up on the stilts, and I thought that was like, this is really where I started thinking as photography as being more like archiving. I think that's really where I started to realize that, because I don't know, I never viewed photography as a way of like actually like documenting like that, like in that kind of setting, you know what I mean?
It's a beautiful picture, frankly. I mean,
Yes.
like you should make prints.
Yeah, that would be
really
amazing.
nice picture.
It's really
Yeah,
nice,
Brianna Roy was the one who took the photos on film too.
Oh, yeah.
So they're like
It
really
has
nice.
that nice saturation.
Just the way the mask looks against the background is really.
Yeah,
It's a great
when I
photo.
showed them to one of my professors at OCAD, Andrea Fotona, she was like, the red is very much, ancestral. And I was like, wow, that's very powerful for sure.
I just love to like the darkest shadows like on the body and stuff, because of the black clothes really like sort of make it almost look like you're not there as a figure. Like it goes back to that like sort of like ghostly sort of like sense with the flowy drapery and stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely what I'm going for. I also like that I'm wearing like my Air Force Ones in the photo.
Right.
Like you always gotta bring it back, like
I
the
see
Air Force Ones.
little metal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How tall are those stilts in there in that photo?
Yeah, these are my first pair of stilts, and they're at 3 feet.
3 feet.
Yeah, so
That's still so tall.
pretty. Yeah,
Like,
it's still pretty tall. Like I feel like 3 feet and 5 feet, like just having those two stilts, I think that's like perfect. Like I'm tapping out at that, because anything taller is just like, you start wondering like, how do you get up on those kind of stilts, and thinking the logistics of that kind of gets hard.
You say that now, but I'm sure in like a couple of years you're like, all right, 10 feet.
10 feet.
10 feet stilts.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh my God.
we got some plywood.
Let's just build one.
Yeah.
Let's build some stilts right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is
so this was
also-
at Young and Dundas, and this was taken by Chimay, who's in the photography program. Oh yeah, I guess I could also talk about the fact that like a lot of the stuff that I use is like reused materials. So the drapery or the blanket that I kind of have on is quite literally like curtains that I had like cut because they were too long in my apartment. So I just cut them, sewed them together, and then like folded it, dyed it with like I got them at the Reuse Depot too. Like Reuse Depot has definitely like funded my art career, and like no joke, like
Believe me.
like almost all of the canvases, like a lot of the materials, like everything that I've dyed, those all came from the Reuse Depot. So
Cool.
yeah, I really appreciate like secondhand like reusing things. Thinking about like the afterlife of like the things that you make has definitely been something that I've started to be a lot more conscious about. I think also like life studies is like pushing that. So I think I'm like falling for that for sure. But yeah, so I dyed this, and then I just kind of like was performing in it, and Chimay took the photos, and they turned out really, really good. And like the blue background is something that I just love about the photo.
There's so much movement in it. It's really lovely. Like it almost looks like it is like a still from like a video or something, because there is just so much like movement with the flowing like fabric in the back and like the tassels on the leg and stuff like that.
Yeah, I also love that it just comes back down to like Black celebration, Black pride. I feel like looking back, like the ancestors definitely would have wanted us to be able to do these kind of things, and for me to be able to reconnect with my culture in that way, I think like definitely make them proud for sure.
Actually, I like noticed something now too, and I don't think this is intentional and stuff, but it's really interesting how you've got your leg kicking one way, and then the advertisement behind has another leg kicking out the other way.
Oh wow!
I didn't even see that.
Sorry, that's just
Jeez, like,
that's just
keen
my
eyes.
ADHD like zoning in and being like
Hyper
there's,
focused
like,
on like
Holy
that's
cow.
hilarious.
Wow,
it's really cool.
Yeah.
some great photos. Who's your photographers? God damn.
Yeah. No, they're honestly amazing. Like again, like it's all about the community. Like they really are the ones that are like like I wouldn't be able to do the stuff that I'm doing right now if it wasn't for like other people being able to help me and to make my like visions kind of come true.
For sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
this was the Mask On exhibition at a Slate. This was my first solo exhibition too. It was actually really funny. Like looking back on it, I'm like, I definitely would have loved to do more of like the black figures on the walls. I definitely like a whole exhibition of just that too. Like I was like, definitely like I'm going somewhere. This is another direction. Yeah.
And the yellow staircase.
The yellow staircase, for sure.
It's so fascinating because like those black figures are still part of At a Slate now because they've just been painted over with like a thin coat of like white paint.
Yeah, we didn't even sand it down. Like, so it's kind of like raised up a little bit. And like if you look at it at the right lighting, you can kind of still see it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Super, super cool. It lives on.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
You
Absolutely.
leave your mark somehow.
Yeah. And like, I'm sure your work is something that's going to live on for a very long time. Because you have so many different avenues of where your work is going, and it's really inspiring to hear like you're coming up with more ideas, you know.
Yeah.
And it's about the end of the episode, but we always we never leave our guests empty-handed.
Yes.
So we actually got you.
We always like to have our guests leave with something.
Oh,
thank
wow.
you for coming on
I
the show.
appreciate that. Does it have horns? Just joking.
That would have been good. See, I wish.
We really like seeing your work around the school.
Thank you.
Use some tools to
No way.
assist.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Yes. I will absolutely use these in all colors. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Of course.
Thank you for having me on the show and, you know, giving me the opportunity to talk about my practice and what it's all about. Yeah.
Before we wrap up, is there anything that you'd like to plug or, shout out?
Yeah, I mean, like the exhibition at Gallery 1313.
Oh, you just lost it.
Gallery 1313. That is March 14th at 6:30 to 9:30. That's the opening, and the show will be up for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I'll be performing at the Artist Project. So that's going to be
Ooh,
really
that's a big
fun.
one.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then, so I'm going to have some work up as well. They have like an untapped section for like emerging artists and things like that. So I'm going to be doing that, also performing, and then that's going to be April 11th to the 14th. And then Grad X, of course.
Yeah.
Everyone should come through to Grad X.
Yes,
and see
absolutely.
this amazing work.
Yeah, the CV's grown.
Oh, for sure.
Is this gonna make an appearance on the?
Can I?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure,
okay.
of course.
What am I putting it under?
OCAD you love too.
Podcasts,
Podcasts.
media appearances. I don't know.
Media
Media.
appearances.
Yeah, okay.
We are
Yeah, I'm
accredited
short
now,
on that
so-
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
you know,
I'm gonna have
on the e-portfolio, it's gonna take a long time to scroll before they see the artwork. You know.
I mean, before we leave now, too, where can people find you if they want to see more of your work or get in contact?
Yeah, so I have Instagram. I have 2 accounts. I have my 100_megapixel, and then I also have Pixel Jumby, which is my still performing account as well. So yeah, those are definitely the 2 places that you can definitely reach out. Feel free. Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
perfect.
Well,
Check it out.
Yes.
thank you so much for tuning in this week, and thank you so much, Pixel, for coming on.
Thank you for
And
having
we will
me.
see you all next week.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, that was
Perfect.
amazing.
Yeah.